I'm going to show you one of my favorite tricks in Looker Studio. We're going to take a case statement and combine it with regular expressions to classify organic search queries into topics. I'll talk about regular expressions a little bit more as we get into the video, but regular expressions are a way of recognizing patterns in text to either say, yes, this text includes these things, or to extract things from text. The idea of organizing organic search queries into topics, I think, is really powerful and important for SEO today. And the reason for that is that Google and other search engines are less about individual keywords and really trying to understand topics and topic authority. Like, does this article really cover the important points in this topic? And it doesn't matter as much that you have specific ways of using keywords in that article. So I'm going to show you how to organize your search queries into topics. And as I said, I'm really excited about this tactic. It's super powerful. So let's get started. In the last video, we created this cool chart where we took Google Search Console data, organic searches, and we labeled them non-branded and branded. Here we can see a trend line for the 2 October's website in non-branded queries versus branded queries. And the way that we did that is, I'll go and show you where that branded, non-branded field comes from. I'm going to go and edit the data source. And you see this branded, non-branded dimension. Well, that's one that we added. That's what's called a calculated field. And you can add your own fields to a data source. And typically what you're going to do is do some sort of calculation using existing fields in the data source to create a new field. And in this case, we used a case statement. And what a case statement does is it evaluates a set of conditions and returns a value. In our case, what we were doing is we were taking the query and evaluating whether it had one of our branded terms in it. And then if so, it returned branded, and otherwise it returned non-branded. So pretty cool, really helpful. What we're going to do this time is we're going to add in regular expressions to our case statement. So in a regular expression, well, I'm not going to explain it. I'll let Wikipedia explain it. So a regular expression is a sequence of characters that specifies a match pattern in text. It's kind of a way of saying you can use things like wildcards. You can do match variations of text looking for patterns. So it's often used for things like identifying phone numbers or email addresses. In our case, what we're going to be doing is building regular expressions that look for different words in text to identify a specific topic area or category for queries. So let's have a look at some examples of regular expressions. Okay, I'm going to go back. This is the case statement that we built before, but instead of using the contains function from Looker Studio, I'm using regex contain. So this is a built-in function in Looker Studio, which is doing a regex match instead of just a regular contains match. Now, in my example, what I've done is it's exactly the same case statement as I had before. So it's not actually taking advantage of any of the power of regular expression. So let's get into what that power is. Per the previous example, if you just have text and a regular expression, then it's going to match that same text. There's special characters in regular expressions that we'll get into. But if you don't use those special characters, it's just a straight up text match. So 2 Octobers matches 2 Octobers. But for example, in this case, 2 Octobers doesn't match 2 Octobers Denver because 2 Octobers Denver has the word Denver in it, whereas the regular expressions 2 Octobers doesn't. Now, the function regex contains from Looker Studio actually does a contains match. So if we fed that the regular expression 2 Octobers, it would in fact match 2 Octobers Denver because it's looking for, does 2 Octobers Denver contain 2 Octobers? But there are other ways to use regular expressions. So strictly speaking, it wouldn't match. Okay, so the first sort of magical character in regular expressions is the period. And what that does is it matches any single character. So The first line here, we have 2.octobers. Does it match 2 octobers with a space between them? Well, yes, it does, because a space is a character. The next example, there is no space, so 2.octobers does not match 2 octobers with no space, because it has to match a single character, and there isn't a character there. The next example with an ampersand does match, because an ampersand is a character. And then in the last example, it doesn't match because we've introduced spaces. The asterisk symbol is what's called a quantifier. And you can see here it says it matches 0 or more of the previous character. So what that means is that you use a quantifier in combination with a character or regular expression symbol to say, in the first example here, the regular expression is saying match the letters for 2 octobers, but the O that comes after the T in octobers, there could be 0 or more of those O's. So in this case, the text has 3, so it does match because that's a 0 or more. And that 0 part is really important. You can see in the next example where if we put that asterisk character after the space, then what it's doing is it's matching both with and without the space. And you can, if you think back to what we were doing with brand keyword matching or brand query matching, we actually had to use 2 different patterns to match 2 octobers with a space and without a space. So now with a regular expression, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The next example, similarly, doesn't have the S, but that's okay because it's 0 or more S's. And the last example, it's got a Z. And of course, the S, 0 or more S's will never match a Z, so that's not going to match. Where this gets really powerful is if we combine dot and star, or dot and an asterisk, what you're saying is match 0 or more of the previous character, and the previous character matches any character. So essentially, this is like wildcard matching anything. Anything you can type with a keyboard, this is going to match. In the examples here, we have, so a simple example, kind of similar to what we did before, but we have 2 dot star octobers. That matches 2 octobers with a space. But you could also imagine it could match 2, or like if it was spelled out like 2 or 3 octobers, it would still match, because essentially what you're saying is I want the word 2 and I want the word octobers. Anything can happen in between. I don't care. It could be letters, numbers, punctuation, match it all. The next example, and we're going to be using this one a lot, is we want to match 2 octobers followed by another word. And so in this case, we take the dot star at the end, and that does that. Another pattern we'll use a lot is this sandwiching letters and numbers between dot star. And that does the equivalent of the contains or regex contains match, which is saying I want to match text that has the words 2 octobers in it. It could be at the beginning, it could be at the end, it could be in the middle, it could be by itself. Doesn't matter. As long as it has 2 octobers in it, I want it to match. The next ingredient we're going to use a lot is this pipe character, and this represents an or condition, meaning match this or that. So we're sort of like we're giving it 2 different regular expressions. So in the first example here, I'm saying match 2 or octobers, which is not actually going to match 2 octobers, because for a regular expression to match, it has to match the full string unless you do something like we did in the last example. We could put dot star at the beginning and end of each of these, and then it would match any string that contained 2 or octobers. In the second example, yes, it will match the word 2 because it's saying match 2 or octobers. And the third example also. So it's tries matching 2 octobers, it doesn't match, and then it tries the next one and it finds 3 octobers, yes, it matches, so there you go. The last thing I want to show you is this backslash character, which is used to escape a symbol, and what that means is you're saying, yes, I really actually want to match this character. So for example, if you use a dot or a period, you need to escape it because that character has meaning as a regular expression, but there are times when we want to match it because it's just a period that we expect to occur in the text. We don't actually run into this very much when we're trying to match search queries because search queries are usually just numbers and letters. We don't really run into a lot of punctuation characters in search queries. I've got a couple of examples below. So if we wanted to match to octobers.com, as I said, we have to use that escape character because we actually want to match that dot. And that one does come up a fair amount when we're using regular expressions in Looker Studio and we're working with search data, just because we often are looking at like landing page URLs or something like that. The next example, this was one we haven't talked about, but the front slash character also has meaning in a regular expression. So if we want to match a URL, then we have to escape that front slash character. The last example, also one we haven't talked about, but the question mark has meaning in a regular expression. In this case, I didn't escape it, so it doesn't match. I've got a list of the characters that need to be escaped in regular expressions below. I'm just showing you that because I'm introducing some characters that we haven't talked about. Really, for our purposes, you don't need to know this. Another really helpful resource that I use a lot is regexer.com, which is really helpful for testing regular expressions. I'll put that link in the description. And then the last thing is, now that we have ChatGPT, just go to ChatGPT. If you need to figure out a regular expression to match something, say, what is a regular expression to match this, and describe what it is you're trying to match. And I found ChatGPT is fabulous at telling me the regular expression that I need to use. So that's a quick primer on regular expressions. Now let's get into building our case statement to categorize search queries. The first thing we're going to do is make a copy of this page. So we're going to duplicate this page, and I'm going to get rid of these elements. What I really want is the query data. And if you're doing this from scratch, what you're going to want it to do is add a Google Search Console data source and use the site impression data source within that to get query data. So now I've got this copy. So we're going to work with this copy. The other thing that I'm going to do is copy my dashboard to a different tab, because what you'll see is that it's really actually kind of handy to be able to work on your case statement while looking at your table. So it's nice to have them up in two tabs. We're going to go to Resource, Manage Added Data Sources. We're going to add a new field. I'm going to add a calculated field. I'm going to say topic, and then I'm going to start my case statement. Okay, now if you recall, the way a case statement works is we have this series of when a certain condition, then a certain value, and so on. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a topic for branded like we did before. In this case, it'll just be one of many topics. So I'm going to use that built-in regex contains function. That way I don't have to do the dot star at the beginning and end of the strings that I want to match. If you recall, that dot star, if you put that at the beginning and end, then you're effectively doing a contains match. I'm going to add my query, and we'll do comma. And for right now, I'm going to do one thing. I'm just going to put some quotes here, and then the reason I'm doing this is just to save myself a little bit of typing. So I'm just going to go, and then just so we have the correct format overall, I'll say unclassified. And okay, so now it's starting to look like a proper case statement. Okay, so then we're going to have two Octobers, and I'll do it. Well, actually, we could do what I showed you before, right? We'll do that star, and that'll match two Octobers with a space or without a space. And then we're going to say branded. What do we do next? I've got search intent up there. I'm going to say search intent. We do a lot of keyword research analysis. You'll see a sort of pattern to some of the topics that I come up with here. In this case, I'm going to call this keyword research. I'm going to put that as the topic, general topic area. Google My Business login, the next query down. I'm going to put that under local SEO. So a lot of times you'll see GMB instead of Google My Business. And then the other ones that we'll see are Google Business Profiles and GBP. So I'm just going to go ahead and be proactive and put all those in there. So local SEO. We don't see any of those. Well, I don't notice any of those queries off the bat, but like I say, I suspect we'll find some of them in there. So I'm going to just go ahead and put that. Let's see, what's the next one? Local business listing. Well, that actually belongs in that same one. So I'm going to say next down the list. What do we see? All business listing sites. Okay, now this is where you get into a little bit of a judgment call. I think for the kind of search traffic we get, if I just say business list, if it contains business listing, it's probably local SEO related. That way I don't have to have two different entries to cover those two different things. So then how to SEO with AI. Now this is an interesting one. What I think is that if I have the term SEO and the term AI in a query, then I should put it in like an SEO and AI topic. So how do we do that? I'm going to say, so we have SEO, and now I'm going to put a space because there's always going to be a space after SEO and before AI. But then the other thing I'm going to do is put that dot star in here because there may be other words in between. The thing that could be weird about this is if you had a word that had A and I in it, then it could match. So what I'm going to do is actually take this space. I'm going to move it over here and put a space here. And I think that'll do a pretty good job of matching. Anybody that's familiar with regular expressions might be watching and being like, oh, there's a different way you could do this. And that is always true with regular expressions. There's always a different and usually a better way. And I'm sure there's a better way than what I'm doing right here, but you'll see this actually works pretty well. So then the word order, it could go either way. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do AI dot star and SEO. And then I'm going to just call this AI and SEO. Okay, so we've started to classify some. I'm going to put Moz local actually in this local SEO as well. So now I'll show you what we'll do next, and then I'm going to hop forward. But something that'll make this process go a little bit more smoothly, we're going to save this. And then say done. Now for right now, I'm going to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add my topic as a dimension here, and we're going to insert a drop down. Okay, so what's nice about this is that as I work, what I'll be able to do is keep an eye on which ones I've classified. So you can see I've done a pretty good job of classifying a bunch of these. I've got some more to classify down the list. I'm not going to make you watch me do every one. Hopefully you're getting the idea, but we're going to hop forward and see what it looks like after I've done a bit more classification. Okay, I did spend a bit more time classifying keywords. So one thing to show you is this drop down here. You can see now I've got a nice long list. I've got this sorted by impressions, and you can see unclassified. We have about 182,000 unclassified keyword impressions out of a total of 1.3 million. So done a pretty good job of classifying most things, and you see the topics in here. One thing I'll emphasize is this is not a science. Like, there's a bit of back and forth of deciding where a query fits. And then maybe as you keep going, you're like, this category is getting kind of big. Maybe I'm going to split it into a couple of categories. What I showed you before, having them side by side and starting to add, like, classify your keywords, then you can update your topic calculated field and then update the table. It's really kind of fun, like watching that unclassified category go down. And honestly, I really like the process as a whole because I don't know, my search data starts to take shape as I assign topics to it. So I really enjoy it, and hopefully you'll get the same satisfaction. One other thing I'll say is that I gave you a brief introduction to regular expressions, and I tried to keep it simple, just give you some tools that you can use. Let's just take a quick look in our so in our topic classification, you can see some of the stuff that I added here. And really, I'm using dot star in some cases. I'm using the pipe for an or, and that's mostly it. Like just those two things in your regular expressions can make your case statement way more powerful. That's it. Thanks a ton for watching. If you liked this, if you found it helpful, please click the like button, subscribe if you like to see more videos, and check out 2octobers.com. We help people with Looker Studio, marketing, analytics in general, GA4, really anything to do with analytics. So thanks again for watching.